Hello and welcome you all to today's lecture. My name is Dr. Meenu Sharma and I'm an assistant professor in Smile National Mahila PG College, MEERUT. Our today's lecture is focusing on Of Studies, an essay by Francis Bacon. Of Studies is just not a part of your syllabus, but one of the most quoted piece of English literature. If we talk about Francis Bacon, he was a man of many talent. He was not only a great philosopher, scientist, but we best known him as the father of English essay. Francis Bacon lived in Renaissance era, and this era is known because Europe was rediscovering classical text and emphasizing human reason in this era. And this spirit of inquiry and practicality we found in almost all the writings of Bacon, and specifically this essay Of Studies. Of Studies is a short essay, but you find it full of meaning. The essay focuses on studies, why we should study, how we can take benefit from study, and also how study can change the society. The whole essay is written in short and sharp sentences, and that's one of the best characteristics of Bacon's writing, his use of aphorism. These sentences are short, but they are full of meaning. So before we start today's lecture, let's take a look what we are going to cover in this session. So let's take a very quick look what we have in this session. So first of all, we come to know about Francis Bacon's life and his contribution to English literature in a very brief manner. After that, we will continue to know about Of Studies, and we are going to discuss the main section of this essay. After a detailed explanation and discussion on the main lines of essay, we continue to talk about the literary devices and other important characteristics of studies. Then we shall conclude our session with key takeaways and memorable quotations for lifelong learning. We are going to finish today's session with some questions for reflection, and I think these questions will be really helpful for your for reinforcement of your learning. So let's start. Before start with the essay, let's start with the man behind it. So Francis Bacon was a great artist, he was a great scientist, we know him as a great politician and father of English essay. So Francis Bacon was born in 1561 in London. His father was Nicholas Bacon and he was the Lord Keeper of Great Seal. His mother was highly educated even at that point of time, and in this intellectual environment Francis Bacon grew up, and I think this environment definitely shaped his childhood. And this was the reason that at the age of 12 he entered Trinity College, Cambridge. In Cambridge he studied philosophy because that was the main subject at that time. But very soon he grew dissatisfied with the rigid Aristotelian way of learning. Because Bacon, from his childhood, believed that knowledge should be practical. It should not be based on abstract ideas only. He entered into politics in 1584 as member of parliament. And even in his youth, he believed that study should serve society. Study should not be locked in books, but it should be used practically for the welfare of society. He always advocated the empirical method because he believed in scientific inquiry, and he believed that knowledge should not be the abstract ideas only, but it should be based on experience and observation, not just tradition. In his later life, Bacon rose to great power. He became Attorney General in 1613, and after that he became Lord Chancellor in 1680. Lord Chancellor is the highest judicial officer in England. So we can see that he rose to power in his political career. Alongside politics, he continued to work in his literary field as well, and he continued to write his best essays and his work Advancement of Learning, which came out in 1605, and Novum Organum, which remain his best work, came out in 1620. If we talk about the essays, his essays came out in three portions. First of all, the first portion came in 1597, then 1612, and finally in 1625. He wrote almost 57 essays, and all these essays cover topics of general public's interest like truth, friendship, uh, in fact, revenge, and studies, of course. So all the essays are written in same characteristics manner, is aphoristic style. They are short but always full of wisdom, full of meaning, which can be used by general public in their day-to-day life. However, his career faced scandal. He was impeached for corruption in 1621. Although disgraced politically, but his literary image is always endured. He is known as the father of English essay and always remembered for his good essays along with his scientific way of looking at life. He died in April 9 on April 9 in 1626 due to pneumonia. So this is just a brief overview about Francis Bacon and his life, because it is very important to know about the writer behind the text. This always helps us to understand the text in a better way. I would suggest that student must read the biography of Francis Bacon, his list of works, and his contribution to English literature in a detailed manner. I will share the link on the Google Classroom, so you must check out that. Now let's move to the essay itself. So, Of Studies is a great essay. It's a short essay, but one of the most quoted piece of English literature. I already mentioned. It is a formal essay. How it is a formal essay? Because here Bacon is not focusing on the emotion. Here he want to teach us something about study. It's not a light reading. It is not written for entertainment. But here the tone is serious and intellectual. This is a serious topic which we all need to understand, which we all need to reflect on it and absorb the meaning of this essay. This essay is also didactic in nature, because here Bacon just don't want to impress us with his knowledge or the words, but he want to teach us that how study can be beneficial for a person and for the society overall. Throughout the essay, he explored the purpose and value of studies and highlight the practical application of knowledge in life and society. As we already have discussed, this essay is written in his master style, the use of aphorism throughout the essay. He used those sharp sentences which almost feel like nuggets of truth. Let's place this essay in the era in which it has been written. So this essay reflects the Renaissance spirit of humanism and inquiry. As we all know, Bacon was a Renaissance thinker, and the Renaissance was all about humanism, curiosity, and the firm belief that learning could improve life. All studies carry this spirit overall. It is a call for lifelong learning, curiosity, and practicality. So whenever we read Of Studies, we are not just reading a piece of literature, because we are not focusing it just a piece of literature, but it is the voice of a Renaissance thinker who wanted knowledge to be practical, powerful, and transformative. So let's start with the essay itself. So this is the essay we have. Before we start the very first few lines, let me ask you a question. What do you think? Why do people study? To pass an exam? For grades? That's the most common answer the student give us. But in this essay of studies, Francis Bacon give us a timeless answer. And I'm quoting here, studies serve for delight, for ornament, and for ability. Their chief use for delight is in privateness and retiring, for ornament is in discourse, and for ability is in the judgment and disposition of business. In these introducing lines, Bacon has given us three main purposes of study. Firstly, he says studies serve for delight. The purpose of study is not only knowledge, but study can be used for entertainment. It can be used for delight. If you remember, there are many students, there are people who love to read poetry, who love to read fiction and novel, and they found it very interesting, very delighting. So studies can use for entertainment also. The second purpose he mentioned for ornament. How ornament? Like ornament always beautifies or enhance the beauty of a person. If we studied and we have good knowledge, it always beautifies our conversation. You have noticed there are people who read widely, who has a lot of knowledge. Their sentences, their words always shines. And you always surprised that how these people know so much. The reason? They read widely. So study beautifies or enhance the beauty of their arguments, their conversation. The third purpose Bacon here mentioned is ability. Bacon wants to confirm here that study always provide ability to the person. He doesn't mean that if a person has not studied, that person has not ability. He said that study always enhances the ability of a person to take decision, because a person who is learned, who has knowledge about the facts, history and the patterns of success and failure, that person would be definitely able to take better decision, to reach better conclusion. And that learned person's decisions are not biased, but they are evaluated and they are full of sense. So that's what he mean to say here. So you can understand that Bacon is saying studies are not just for exam, but it give you tools for life which you can use throughout your life. Next, he want to tell us that there are people. It enables the learned study always enable the learned man to critically examine issue and arrive at the right conclusion. They can garner data, facts, argument, or against a particular view rationally. And this intelligent analysis always provide a sound and quality judgment. Do you agree? I agree. If we look at the next line, Bacon give us a warning. He warned us. He says, to spend too much time in studies is sloth, to use them too much for ornament is affectation, to make judgment wholly by their rule is the humor of a scholar. So what does Bacon want to say here? He confirmed that studies always carry warning also. If a person is spending too much time in studies, we have seen there are a lot of people who studies throughout the day. What happened? They become lazy. A person is studying too much, doesn't have time for its application. And Bacon warns that is sloth. There are people who studies a lot, but when it comes to handle a real project, they are not able to handle it. So that's a sloth. You don't be that person. The second warning contains to use them too much for ornament. If you are studying and use that knowledge or facts in your conversation just to impress other, this is not the right way to use. It becomes affectation. Third, he says, to make judgment wholly by their rules. Example, a person who refused to make decision because his observation is not matching with the rules given in the textbook. So decisions or your life should not wholly based on textbooks or books or facts, but it must combine the practical sense. Only then knowledge or studies are beneficial. In the next line, when he writes, they perfect nature and are perfect by experience. For natural abilities are like natural plants that need pruning by study, and studies themselves do give forth directions too much at large, except they be bounded in by experience. In these lines, Bacon has given a very beautiful metaphor when he writes that natural abilities are like natural plant. He compares those raw talent, the inborn talents, with natural plants. Like plant need pruning to grow faster and grow better, similarly a person with inborn talent also need study or training. For example, if there is a cricketer who born with that interest in cricket and that raw talent, if a cricketer is not getting proper training or proper learning, he won't become that master player. So study always enhance the ability. But along with that, Bacon also says that study alone is not perfect. Study should be aligned, should be mixed with the experience and the observation. It means you should not totally rely on studies or the books or the facts you have taken from books, but you should also learn the experience. You should also earn the observation around us, and then mix these experience, the study experience and your observation together. That's the best way of using studies. In the next line, Bacon categorized people into three main categories. And here he writes, crafty men condemn studies, simple men admire them, and wise men use them. For they teach not their own use, but that is a wisdom without them. In these lines, Bacon categorized people into three main categories and tell us how different people value studies. Let's look at crafty men condemn studies. Bacon writes that those people who are crafty or cunning, they always condemn study. They say study is useless. Why? Because they know all the crooked ways to make their objective accomplished. So they feel that there is no need of study at all. We can do our work in our own way. Secondly, simple men admire them. You have noticed all those people who are simple, common man, they always admire studies and the people who are learned. But even that is not the right way. Why? Because simple men blindly believe on those who are learned. And thirdly, wise men use them. This is what Bacon wants to teach us. That the best way or way to approach study is use that. So all those people who read well, who know the knowledge, they always use that not for themselves only, but for the society overall. Now come to the last line of this slide, and Bacon writes, read not to contradict and confute, not to believe and take for granted, not to find talk and discourse, but to weigh and consider. Let's understand this line. Here Bacon wants to say that how we should read. So Bacon says, don't read just to argue. Don't read just to accept blindly. Don't read just to show off, but read to evaluate and consider, to think deeply. Let's understand this line with a real life example. Suppose there is a student who has read about a new policy by government on education through a newspaper or in a magazine. So when Bacon says, read not to contradict, so students shouldn't read it just to find faults or to argument with the classmates that no, this policy is useless. Secondly, students should not believe and take for granted that whatever is being written in this magazine is true, or whatever is their opinion of the magazine or the newspaper say this policy is very good, that doesn't mean it is true. Thirdly, not to find talk and discourse. There is another way. Students sometimes or people sometimes read something just to make other people impress. Okay, I'm going to tell about this in class. I will look smart. So this is not the right way to approach study, but to weigh and consider. And here Bacon says that you must, what is the right approach to see that policy? You first read that analytically, okay, analyze that, find out what is this policy actually for whom it would be beneficial and what are the possible drawbacks. After this analyze, he or she come to the conclusion that can be shared with others. So this is the right way to approach studies. So class, Bacon's message is clear here, that studies are not just for passing exam or to have good marks or to impress others. They are for living better, thinking sharper, and speaking smarter. But remember, Bacon here warned us that books alone are not enough. Combine them with your experience, and only then you will have true wisdom. So next time, whenever you pick a new book or you are studying something new, ask a question. Not that what this book contains, but how I can use this in my life. How this book, this study can be beneficial for me and for others. That's the spirit of Bacon's essay. Now let's move further, and this is where he talks about different kinds of book and how we should approach them. His words are quite memorable, and I'm quoting here: some books are to be tasted, others to be swallowed, and some few to be chewed and digested. That is, some books to be read only in parts, others to be read but not curiously, and some few to be read wholly and with diligence and attention. So in these lines, Bacon has used the food metaphor to compare how we should different books approach, how we should approach different books. Because every book does not deserve the same level of attention. And he categorized them that there are some books which should only be tasted. Let's understand with an example. You just want to know about the plot of a novel, or just want to read a single chapter of a book. Then do not read the whole book because it will take time. Better read the only portion or read the only part that you find useful for you. Second category is some books are to be swallowed. Like there are few foods which we can swallow. We do not need to taste them or to digest them. There are also few books which you need very quickly, just to get very quick information. Like we read fiction without any deep analysis. We read it just for entertainment, not for any analysis. Okay, so third category is some few to be chewed and digested. These are the books only which you read with proper attention. You should analyze them, reflect on them, and absorb their meaning completely. For example, if you are your textbook of any subject you are studying, or Shakespeare's play, Plato's dialogues, these all are examples of books that can be digested and that can be immersed in your personality. Yeah, reading makes a full man, conference a ready man, and writing an exact man. It is one of the most quoted line of English literature, and this essay as well. Here Bacon wants to clarify that if you are reading a lot, if you are reading a lot, you will have a lot of ideas in your mind. So reading always make a person full of knowledge. That's why he mentioned reading make a full man. You sometimes surprised to see people who has ideas to share almost on all the topics. So what's the reason? They read a lot. Secondly, conference a ready man. Conference here mean the discussion. A person who discuss on various topics, who debates regularly, they know how to put the arguments further. And this quality make them a ready man who is always ready with uh, their wit, their observations. And thirdly, writing make an exact man. How? Whenever you write, you have to be precise. You cannot be vague in writing. Now come to the last line of this slide, and he writes, history make men wise, poets witty, the mathematics subtle, natural philosophy deep, moral grave, logic and rhetoric able to contend. So Bacon here wants to tell us that different subject give us different abilities. How? He take these example like history make men wise. If a person who is reading history, who has knowledge about world war or different events of the history, they always have knowledge about people's behavior and how a person should react to different things. So history always make a man wise. Poets witty. A person who is reading Tagore or, for example, Shakespeare, this person is full of that imagination, and vocabulary of this person always be great. Third, mathematics subtle. A person who is solving maths problems and solving puzzles always be very analytical and precise. So these are the techniques, these are the abilities we learned from different types of studies. Next, he take natural philosophy. Natural philosophy here means the physics, biology, the science. A person who is reading natural philosophy, they know the deep layers of our existence, and they understand that things better or deeply. Moral grave. If we are reading the writers of those has written about ethics, it definitely teaches moral lesson and ethics which we can apply in our life. Logic and rhetoric able to contend. If a person is studying logic, definitely this would help this person in debate or in conversation or in a kind of discussion. So here we found that Bacon's essays is not just about books. It's about reading, discussion, and writing. And it also tells us that how these three activities shape us into complete human being. So he is giving us a recipe for an intellectual growth. That's the essence of his wisdom. Now let's come to the last part of this essay. So this is the last slide of the essay. And here This is the most philosophical part of Bacon's essay. And he writes this line in Latin, abiunt studia in mores. What does it mean? Study pass into characters. He means to say here, whatever we study, it always reflect in our behavior. It always reflect in our habits. In fact, it become the part of our personality. It always influence whatever we think, we talk, and we reflect. Whatever the study we have, it always become the part of our personality because it molds our character in that way. For example, if a person is studying psychology, this person might be more empathetic towards other. Now, let's look at this, the last discussion in this essay, and let's look at this brilliant comparison between mind and body given by Bacon. Here, Bacon compare studies to exercise. He confirmed that like physical exercise can cure any bodily diseases, similarly, studies, which is a kind of mental exercise, can cure any kind of mental defects. And here he gave example like bowling is good for stone, shooting for lungs. He gave many example like different exercise are made up of 4 different defects or problems. Similarly, different subject or different studies can help to heal these mental defects or problem. And let's understand the example Bacon has given here. He writes, if a man's wit be wandering, let him study the mathematics. For in demonstration, if his wit be called away never so little, he must begin again. If his wit be not apt to distinguish or find differences, let him study the schoolman, for they are simony sectors. So Bacon suggests that if a man's wit be wandering, if a person can easily distracted, that person should study mathematics. Why mathematics? Because maths needs focus. If your attention drifts a little, you have to start all over again. So that's the quality of maths. So if you are studying maths, it train your brain for that discipline and focus. The next suggestion he has given, if his wit be not apt to distinguish or find differences, let him study the schoolman. Schoolmen are those medieval philosophers who are known for their hair-splitting arguments, and Bacon called them here simony sectores. It means those human splitters. In Hindi, we can call them baal ki khal nikalne wale log. So here Bacon says, if you are not able to distinguish the subtle differences, you must read these works. This will give you that analytical ability to understand and will definitely help you. Next suggestion he has given, if he be not apt to beat over matters and to call up one thing to prove and illustrate another, let him study the lawyer's cases. If a person is not able to find conclusion or to analyze 2 things, that person should study law cases. Why? Because lawyers always take references from the past cases and then they make their argument. So this will definitely help a person to let him study the lawyer's cases. So here we understand every defect of mind may have a special receipt. So Bacon here says that just as physiotherapy heals the body, studies heal the mind. They shape your character, sharpen your thinking, and correct your weaknesses. So this is all about the essay. This is the mind map, which is a kind of summary of the whole essay. You can take screenshot of it. And now let's move further. Now that we have understood Bacon says about studies and the content of this essay and what he want to suggest us about studies, now let's understand how he say this. Because Bacon was not only a great Renaissance thinker, he was a master stylist too. So when we are reading this essay, although this essay is quite short, but every line sparkle with those literary devices that make this essay memorable. You have noticed that few lines are very short, but they are full of meaning. So let's understand these main literary devices one by one. So the first literary devices we found in this essay is antithesis. Antithesis is the power of contrast. Bacon often places two opposing ideas together so that we can have a better understanding about it. Let's understand it with this example. Bacon writes, crafty men condemn study, simple men admire them, and wise men use them. So here you can see the three category of people and how he placed all them together, crafty versus simple versus wise. And that's the reason we understand this argument very clearly. In fact, these lines are not only logical, but we found him quite dramatic. And that's the reason we remember them, we understand them very well. The next literary devices he used very well in this essay is parallelism. That's the rhythm and balance. If you have noticed, Bacon's sentences often march forward with balance and rhythm. Look at the example I have taken last. Crafty men condemn study, simple men admire, and wise men use them. You see a same structure. Subject, verb, object, subject, verb, object. So this give a kind of musical quality to the text. Although the essay is written in plain language, plain English, but it still gives us the feeling of poetry. So that's the beauty of Bacon's writing. Next literary devices is metaphor. Metaphor we found in many places. Let's understand it's with the example we have seen in the last slide, where Bacon has compared study to the medicine, and he present these abstract idea with the help of such realistic example that we understand study how different subject can heal different defects of mind altogether. So this is the great quality of Bacon's writing. Now, following this, we have aphorism, wisdom in brief sentence. And that's the most characteristic quality of Bacon's writing. He used those sharp, witty sentences. These words are full of meaning that they give us so many meaning which we can easily quote, easily remember, and they are endlessly applicable on our real life. So whenever we are reading Bacon, we are not just learning his ideas, but also absorbing his style. Therefore, I think that's the reason Bacon's essays are still taught today, and because they both are the manual of knowledge and expression. So this is all about today's session. To conclude this session, we have some questions. So these are some reflection questions. These 3 questions, and I hope you all write the answer because this will definitely reinforce your learning about this essay. So the first question is, why do we study today? So that's a question you should find out to pass exam or just to find wisdom for the whole life. Second question we have, which purpose? Bacon has given us 3 purposes of studies: delight, ornament, and ability. So which purpose matter most to you? Write it down. The third, how can Bacon's advice guide modern students? You can see that this time is full of distraction. We have so many distractions in today's time. So how Bacon's advice can be useful for everyone in this time? So reflect on these questions, and let's keep thinking about how to make learning meaningful. Thank you for joining me in this exploration of studies. May his word inspire you, and you study not just for exam but for lifelong learning. Keep learning, keep growing. Thank you so much.